All right. Welcome back to the Unnamed Security Podcast, Cybersecurity Podcast. Sorry, don't want to leave that out. Although we talk about other things too, so we can go there. It is the beginning of February. January feels like did January feel like it took like 6 months?
Yeah, it was long.
It was a very long January.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I'm not alone.
I think we're into 2025 already. That's how long it is.
Man, there's a lot of stuff that happened in January. Carl, we were talking in the green room before this, and Carl mentioned something about FTC safeguards with tax season now upon us, right? What? Give us a little summary of what you were talking about, what you've been presenting on.
Well, I was, I do trainings as you guys all do, and I did one for the New York County Bar Association earlier this week, and an attorney brought up a question in the middle of the presentation on the FTC safeguard rules, which we talk about a lot, along with a lot of other compliance issues. And he said, if I was shown to be negligent in protecting my client's data, would my license to practice law be at risk? And I said to him, look, at the extremes with that law, you can get up to 5 years of prison time, which is a felony. And I said, what happens to your law license once you are convicted of a felony as an attorney? And the lady who was running the class, who is in charge of all the training for New York County, for the Bar Association there, said, well, that's cause for immediate disbarment. And so something to think about, you don't realize what you're putting at risk if you're a professional. Besides, we all talk about the businesses, but your chances of continuing to maintain your license could potentially be at risk. And, I show this to, when we work with, anybody's a tax preparer or a CPA or anything like that. Yeah. They're all required to fill out a form that's called a W-12, which gives them a PTIN number. What this means is they can file taxes with the government. And, Section 11, which most of these guys are signing off on, and they don't even have a clue that they are responsible, that they're saying, hey, we're going to be protecting your data. And so if they're found to be negligent in something like this, can their ability to file, can their ability to be a licensed CPA, is that at risk? Again, I'm not an attorney and I'm not there on the board, but I wouldn't want to be on the other side of that argument.
No. Yes. And how many CPAs have you talked to that do taxes that are just now figuring out that they've been checking that box for years?
And they have no idea.
Well, my security plan is I keep the front door locked.
Exactly.
I've looked at the IRS plan that they link to in that. When you look into it, it's okay. Yeah. It's not anything like revolutionary or anything like that. So
when you look at the new one that they put out, and they basically say, and by the way, after we've listed all these things you need to do, you still fall under the FTC safeguard rules. And that's all. And so it's very incomplete. They're even, if you read through it, it's basically like they throw their hands up in the middle of the air.
They're covering as an organization and saying, but wait, there's more. Check this box.
There's more. And you need to be with them, but we're not going to tell you how to do that.
Well, if you look at it too, FTC Safeguard is a pretty decent plan for a small business as far as like a security program. So it kind of encompasses everything that the IRS is really kind of telling you to do.
Exactly.
And more, obviously.
Yeah.
And more.
Well, the other part that you found out is, and I didn't cover this before, is if you're a business, this is something new that just hit, and you're collecting ACHs and wire transfers, and you definitely fall under this. So you may not be in a car dealership or a CPA or one of these other quote unquote named entities, but just by the fact that you're retaining that that ACH payment data and that wire transfer, or think about how many businesses are there where they receive a check. Before they deposit the check, they take a copy of that check, they scan it into their systems, they put it, immediately that makes you exposed. And all you need is 500 records that get caught in a breach, and it's an automatic report, to the FTC. And you're like, well, they won't, who's going to find out? I guarantee you that cyber criminals, as they become more aware of this, are going to start saying, it's going to be part of their extortion plans. If we don't get what we want, we're going to drop a dime on you.
So Carl, historically, the FTC safeguards was non-regulated, non-banking financial institutions.
Yeah, and it used to just strictly be banking. That was, when you go back to 2003.
So you're saying there's been a change where holding ACH information, either
And wire transfer. Yeah, because if you're now, it's no different than holding a credit card information or PII. Any other PII data, meaning Social Security numbers or any of that. So the second you're doing that, and that's in your workflow, whether and you're retaining that, you've now become you've taken responsibility, you've taken possession of that, and you have a fiduciary responsibility to protect that, regardless of whether you are registered. Was I going to say a financial specialist or an attorney or something? Regardless of your professional designation or what your business is, if that's part of the way you operate, you fall under this. That's how encompassing these rules are.
Yeah, and you got to be careful with it too. Obviously, speak to an attorney. Like that's
yeah.
We're for idiots talking on the internet. So don't take legal advice from us.
Of course.
But it's also it should be for individual stuff. So if you're taking ACH from individuals, because the idea of FTC safeguards is to protect individuals, not businesses per se, consumers. Yeah. So
consumers.
Yeah. So just obviously
there is a nuance to that, which is why you need to speak to an attorney. But if you are collecting that information, you definitely want to have an attorney's blessing on that you're not going to fall under that. And if you are, you're going to want to make sure that you're taking the appropriate measures. But it is such a gray area that
the lines are blurry.
The lines are blurry. And if you all of a sudden find out you got a couple thousand wire transfers that you're collecting for whatever reason, and you might have wealthy individuals who self-incorporate,
actually, let me throw something over to Matt, who has some experience in doing a lot of recurring payments for the gyms. What do you think would happen there? I know you push that into a third-party service, but
but at some point, I do wonder where the line on that is, and we're following the regulations we're given by our provider. But to be honest, with my knowledge, I sometimes question our provider, and that's where the lines get really blurry, because the amount of PII even a gym has just to operate, it can be scary. We have doctors notes, know how we need to work with people. We take the credit card, we take ACH, and sure, that's stored in a third party, but ultimately we're responsible for getting it and transferring it. So we operate as if we're under the safeguards, but needless to say, many gyms don't. So it comes down to where's the line, and we're erring on the side of caution, needless to say.
So Matt, I was talking to a trainer this morning at a chamber event. She's like, "Oh yeah, we have to store some HIPAA-based data, but we don't keep people's last names in the files on purpose." I was like, "Yeah, but what's their email address?"
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "Oh, I didn't think of that."
It's actually kind of scary how spread out your personal information becomes, and where it might not be protected well.
Well, last week was Data Privacy Week. We don't have a national data privacy law.
No.
Congress right now is talking to all the social media companies about how they collect. Obviously there's some stuff there with like protecting children and things like that, but like the amount of information they collect on us, there's no law nationally. Mm-hmm. You have California, you have New York, but like really want to get deep into data privacy until we have a national law that enforces this upon every company, including data brokers that are collecting all that information. You have the mother of all breaches that got leaked last week. Same thing. It was 12 terabytes.
12 terabytes a day.
It was 12 terabytes, like 26 billion records. It was all a collection of like former breaches. And I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about it. Like these people are freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, this is the biggest breach ever." Well, no, it's a collection of information that's already been out there. They just put it in one spot. It looked like it may be from a data broker or something else, but
nothing new yet.
Nothing new, but like
somebody else's archive that they've been collecting.
Yeah, and you can use it. Like people make word lists and things like that to they do password spraying and like credential stuffing. But everybody out there, those are attacks that you can use to try to get into accounts. Password spraying is you don't know the password combination for like an account, so you just guess. You're just saying, hey, here's the email address, here's the password, and you just keep spraying passwords over a period of time. Credential stuffing is when when you have a known good username and password, and you try to get into an account, and then maybe you have MFA on there, multi-factor authentication, and then it prompts you, and then they know they can try to trick you into approving that to give access to the account, which is a perfect segue because Microsoft got password sprayed. Oh, look at that! How smooth
There
was
you
that,
go.
guys? There
Good
we go.
job.
See what you did there.
Excellent segue.
Yeah. Well, it gets worse, guys, because they were password
Always
sprayed
does.
to a tenant that was a test tenant for Microsoft 365, a legacy tenant. How did Midnight Blizzard or Cozy Bear is another name for them, which personally I should just call them Cozy Bear because I like that name. Russian state-sponsored APT, Advanced Persistent Threat, somehow gained access to Microsoft executives and their cybersecurity email accounts because of this. That's a problem. They left it tenant up. They did not have multi-factor authentication turned on. They got access to it, and somebody had left a test application in their Microsoft tenant that used OAuth that gave them full access back into Microsoft corporate
Oh man.
from a test tenant.
It's like a science experiment gone wrong that wasn't destroyed.
Yeah, somebody forgot about it. So they put 2 blog posts out about it. Interesting to say the least. These are the same guys that actually did the SolarWinds attack back in 2020. Same group. That's
They're
who.
organized attack.
They're really organized.
So
But
is that state sponsored?
yeah, Russian state sponsored. So the thing about Microsoft is like they put out a nice blog post about how you can stop this stuff like that. If it was a new tenants have requirements that kind of attack wouldn't work. But guys, skeletons in your closet. Everybody has skeletons. Microsoft has skeletons. Everybody has skeletons. If you have infrastructure that's been around for years, there's probably something wrong with it, right? Some opening in there, and this just proves that somebody will find it. How did this group find that test tenant? Nobody seems to know. Did somebody inside of Microsoft give them the test tenant? Maybe. Who knows? But HP got hit by the same group. Same group. They found it in December. They had access, and they were looking for information about what HP had on Midnight Blizzard, Cozy Bear. Same thing they were looking for in Microsoft. But they had access to HP's tenant from May till December before they were discovered.
Wow.
Made it December. Oh my God.
There you're talking about Microsoft, and you're talking. We say, when a threat actor's in there, it's at least 6 months. And here you've got one of the biggest companies with incredible resources.
Yep.
And I think it's in competition with Apple to be the number 1 most valued company in the world.
Well, after earnings, they are the most valuable. They hit $3 trillion.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter how much you spend on cybersecurity. Just remember this. This is probably the most important thing you can ever learn in life. Doesn't matter how much security you throw at something. An insecure configuration wins every single time.
Absolutely. And just to jump back into some of the stuff we were talking about last week, we've been talking to Eric, and he provided some really good feedback on things that are going on. You're talking about insecure environments. The last set of stuff that we looked at, even network devices that are sitting out there unpatched, or old devices sitting out there, are now exclusions on insurance policies. So all that old stuff that's sitting there that you don't think matters, it matters.
Or software.
It's all
Even
software.
if you might have software, how many people have old QuickBook?
In this case, Carl, it was old access points, old routers, old firewalls, old switches,
Firmware
not patching it. Yep.
Well, the worst one about that though, it was so every vulnerability gets a CVSS score. If it's above an 8, it's pretty bad. The last one that he shared with us, above an 8, this other insurance company is if you have 14 days. If you don't patch that vulnerability in 14 days, and that's used to launch an attack on you, they don't cover anything. Like, it's not like the step down like we saw with Chubb, like where it was like, day 46, it goes down to $250,000 from $1 million policy. Day 91, it goes down another $250,000 to where you're half your policy limit for $1 million policy. No, these guys are just like, no, after 14 days, oops. So if you're not on top of this,
Yep.
dude, there's gonna be so many people that especially if they sign off on that, like that's an incredible task for a lot of companies, especially companies that don't have internal IT, and even companies that do. You have to verify that every single device has been patched in 14 days. Large organizations, that's gonna be a struggle
Absolutely.
because you're gonna miss things.
Especially in a distributed environment like I've managed in the past. Absolutely. Anyway, guys, it's been a good week.
Yeah.
It's fun. Next week, I'm not sure what we got on the schedule next week, but I'm sure there'll be another breach or three to talk about.
Do something fun that goes on in the world.
I can rant for 20 minutes. We can just call it that and we'll be good. So
and 2 weeks and 2 weeks we're going to be live from Phoenix.
From Phoenix, we're going to be.
You guys will. I'll be live from Mexico with you. Someone's got to bring the real warmth.
You're not in Mexico, you liar.
Yeah, I am.
You will.
He's going to be having greens wherever he is. Don't trust that.
Industry event with more sunlight.
It's not Mexico though. You're in a different country, dude.
Oh yeah. Okay. I will.
There you go.
This is the greatest ever. This is the greatest ending ever. I know where you're going and you don't. Man, you did the wrong. Man, if you end up in Mexico, that's
I have no idea what's happening at this point.
This is great.
Anyway, guys, so a great takeaway for everybody is if you have a network environment, you don't know what's in it, reach out to any of us. We can definitely help you assess what's in there. Find those devices that are sitting out there that are basically dormant attack vectors, and help you mitigate those risks. And even if we don't help you mitigate it, at least you know that they're there, and you can put your own plan together on how you want to deal with it.
We'll send them to Mexico.
We're sending,
send them to Mexico.
Whatever you do not use Matt as your travel agent.
Yeah.